is going on, RotoGrinders? Dean here at Steen7904 if you want to get all technical. I mean, it's 5:30 in the East Coast, 2:30 in the West Coast, 4:30 Tennessee time, which, of course, means it's time for the flagship show here at RotoGrinders. It's called Grinderslive. I am fully tilted. It's myself, it's Grant, it's Cardi. Our pre-show conversation was basically, hey, this is a really lukewarm slate we're going to be playing, but we're not particularly thrilled about it. And the other part is, as my earpiece falls out, apparently Devin, D-Train, we made a Top Gun reference. I did, specifically, if you want to get all technical. And he's never seen Top Gun. Almost 30 years old. Grant, on a scale of 1 to 10, how egregious is that?
I hate Devin more than this slate right now.
And he's like the nicest guy.
Oh, gosh, he's dead to me.
Car, do you want to weigh in on this?
I've never seen Top Gun either. It's been,
what?
it's been for a long time, and I've never seen it.
How does that happen?
I don't know, because I feel like it's a movie that I would like. It's a movie that I have always wanted to see, and I just never have.
All right.
Don't do it right after the show. Do it during the show. Have it on in the background and don't pay attention to the show. We don't need your advice.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, Top Gun 2 is coming out soon. You might want to see the
I saw
like 30 years later. But I think Maverick is in it. Spoiler alert. Goose probably won't be. Just going to guess. I've not seen the casting, but Goose may or may not be in that.
You never know. It could be Goose's ghost or Goose Gossage.
No, it's definitely not Goose Gossage. And there's like 30 no, there's a lot of young people out there. Who's Goose Gossage? Google Goose Gossage, Grant, because one of these days,
where his old house is.
Or don't. Please don't. Goose Gossage has, well, never mind.
I don't know much about his personal life.
He's named after a geese.
I feel like he's a guy who's had like some really awful takes in the past few years, like super like anti-sabermetrics, anti-stats type stuff. Like, I think it's bad.
Fair enough. Well, he's an old school guy, and he's just like, yeah, I don't care what the numbers say, just give him the heat, and that's that, or something like that. I don't know why he talks like that, but that's what he's doing. All right, today's slate. Give me the screenshot, Cardi. We are not particularly thrilled. Before we jump in the show, what I like to do is like to jump on the RG, the HQ, lineup HQ. I'll give me 200 lineups. Make 200 lineups for me. I just want to see, and I pump in the bat stuff as well too. I give it a bit of juice as far as the my build rules, the outcomes. I mess it with like 10-15% depending on, and the pitchers that are spitting out at me. I'm not happy. I'm not happy with some of these pitchers, Cardi.
No, I'm not happy either.
I think there's some good ones, but it's not giving me a ton of those necessarily.
I don't think there's good ones either. I think this is the worst pitching slate we've seen all year. There's a few okay ones that are overpriced. I don't think there's a single legitimately good pitcher on the slate. And normally on a slate like that, I'm like, okay, great. Let's just play some cheap guy, and that'll be fine. But there really isn't a guy like that either. Like this slate
Antone.
Wait, you Darvish and Clevenger are on my slate. Are they not on your slate?
Yeah, neither one is a great play.
Well, they're good pitchers, though.
They're good pitchers, sure. I mean, Clevenger right now, though, like you have to – I mean, I guess you can say he's good still, but he's struggling in his first couple starts, and he's coming off of this injury that is messing with his mechanics. Like he had this knee thing, and he's come out and straight up said after starts, like, my mechanics are off. I'm favoring my knee, and that's why I haven't been good my first two starts. So that's got to scare you a little bit, right?
A little bit. I'll tell you one thing. I was watching. I was heavily invested in him. I think it was his last start. And I'm not sure if you're watching or not, or if you caught this either, Grant. But there was a moment, I think it was bases loaded or a couple of guys on. He threw like a high heater, like this, and then somebody's like this ridiculous swing. Like you want the batter swinging at it every single time, and they bang. They got a hold of it at their eyes basically, and banged the ball to the wall, and that just seemed fluky more than anything. So I kind of chalk it up to that. But you're right. If he's talking about his mechanics being a little bit off, and I know his velocity is a tick down as well too, and that could be a number of things. Who really knows what's going on?
And it's not like it's a great matchup. It's not like he's in this great spot where you just want to play him anyway, or like you're getting a discount on him. Like I think he's fine. I think you can play him in cash games, but I don't think he's a must play. And in GPPs at his ownership, I think he's a pretty easy fade.
Well, Grant, we're talking about Clevenger. Feel free to chime in. What's your thoughts as far as Mike Clevenger against the Reds? Of course, Clevenger, this is since the last season and like whatever, a couple of starts this year as well. You fire up the plate IQ, 33% K percent. Collectively, the Cincinnati lineup is averaging 22.6% as far as striking out versus righties. That's an okay number, pretty good number. Senzel's in there's got a big number. Ayoane Suarez, ton of power, but 27% he'll strike out as well. Galvis at 25%, Barnhart at 22%. So there are some Ks in there. As far as his splits, he strikes out almost 40% of righties, 27% of lefties, and we have a bunch of lefties, which is also problematic to some degree. Your thoughts here as far as Clevenger, Grant?
I'm out.
That's it?
No, he's fine for cash. Like, if you really want to use him, I think I prefer Darvish a bit. But he has a 3.6 run total going against him, pretty much the same as Darvish. He'll throw enough pitches, but Cardi's right. His camps are messed up right now. He's going to come in at like 40% ownership. There's no reason to play him, but I'm getting super weird today, I think. Like, real weird today.
As opposed to what other day? Like, that's standard.
I feel like it was kind of normal yesterday.
Well, you weren't on air. What happened yesterday? Actually, you speak to that because you were telling us your dinner last night. And what described kind of normal again? What did you have for dinner?
I baked some ribs. I ate some ribs. I drank some wine. I made some s'mores. I ate some s'mores. I ordered sushi later on. And I drank more wine.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it was kind of implied that it was all one sitting, but fair enough, nonetheless. Cardi,
well, when you don't leave a chair all day, it is all technically one sitting.
You have a catheter in? Is that what kind of situation you have going?
I have a trash can. I pee under the desk.
Cardi, we're just happy to have you back. You obviously yesterday was rough for you with a lot of people. Hopefully everybody's safe up there with the hurricane. Give us a summary. I assume you weren't supposed to be here today because they projected the power to be out for multiple days, and thankfully you're back. But hopefully things will be back to normal soon enough. Any sort of, I don't want to say highlights, but hopefully all was good for the most part for you.
Yeah, certainly no highlights, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So it was fine. We lost power for the day. We got it back early this morning after they said 2 to 4 days that it was going to be out. So that was great. Not really much damage. I have one big tree branch dangling above my back deck that is going to fall and potentially break something. So I need to get that down soon. But that's about the extent of it. Everyone's safe, so all good.
You and Grant have something in common. Grant, didn't you have a tree fall on your house like a month ago or so?
I had 2 trees fall.
Well, there you go. Well, actually, you had to one up them.
Yes.
Grant, talk about you, Darvish, because he's good, right?
He is good. He does things. If he's not walking guys, then he's probably going to be in pretty good shape. You look at the lineup he's going against, Kansas City, and it's not the greatest lineup in the world. They have a 3.6 implied run total here. They have strikeouts in a lot of spots in the lineup. And Darvish is good. I think Darvish is better than people realize. Like, the biggest reason why he wasn't fantastic last year was just because he was walking guys at a ridiculous rate at the beginning of the season. So far this year, he's at a 7.7% walk rate. He's going up against a lineup where there's not a ton of walks in it. Yes, he's a little bit worse versus lefties than he is versus righties, and there are some lefties in this lineup. But you look at the lefties in this lineup here, we got Mondesi, who's much better from the right side of the plate, if I remember correctly. We got O'Hearn, who just strikes out every single time. Gordon, not really going to cause too much problems. Cordero,
he's a contact guy, which isn't good.
I mean, it's not good, but it's not really bad. He's not going to do a whole lot of damage. Like, overall, this is not a great lineup. And Darvish is a good pitcher. If I'm paying up, it's going to be him almost every single time over Clevenger or anyone else. So Darvish is the guy. Like, it's a good matchup. It's not the worst ballpark, and it's not terrible weather. So just play Darvish if you're going to pay up. But I'm probably just going to do some weird things.
31% K rate last year. The walk rate was good, especially in the second half of the season. He was one of the best pitchers in baseball second half of the season, maybe the best, if you look at the numbers. Cardi, is that who Darvish is? Is he more the guy from the first half? Is it somewhere in the middle? It was spectacular. Of course, this KC lineup is not great from a strikeout perspective upside. You got Soler in there, who definitely a lot of pop, but also can swing and miss plenty. O'Hearn, like Grant was saying, 25% as far as K percent. But Lopez, not a good hitter, but he's a contact hitter, 12% as far as striking out. You prefer, somebody that's more susceptible to getting the whiff. That said, Darvish at a 31% K rate. It sounds like both you guys are going to probably be just loading up on bats. And if Darvish strikes out 12, which is probably not going to happen, but if he strikes out 4 in 6 innings and gets the win, that's okay. You can survive that. Cardi, you Darvish, what are we doing?
He's too expensive. He's a good pitcher, but he's not a 10.4K good pitcher. The improved control is nice, and you can definitely chalk it up to him just getting healthy, but it's still, from a mathematical standpoint, hard to, say that he's made these huge improvements just based on, like 12 starts or whatever it's been. Like you said, Casey has strikeouts in some spots in the lineup, and in other spots it doesn't. So on balance, they're a little above average in terms of strikeouts. And the park suppresses strikeouts. So it's actually probably a slightly negative strikeout matchup when you put it all together. And 10.4K is just it's a lot. I don't think there's a lot that really separates him from some of the cheaper guys.
I'm doing a refresh here as far as Kevin Ross weather edge. We've talked about that in previous shows. Talked about that in Wrigley, where it was a 2-0 score the other day. We like the pitchers that weren't particularly great. We like the under as well. That was our sharp side selection. As I'm pulling this up, Grant, give me your sharp side winner. By the way, shout out to me. We gave you the Astros yesterday. The Astros over 5.5. You were actually getting juice on that one. They put up a 10 spot, I believe, against Mad Bum, who is toast. The chat was telling me, what's up, chat? Like and subscribe. Much appreciate that. Ask some questions as well as we're going through the positions. We'll do our best to knock those out. Grant, give me your sharp side winner today.
My sharp side winner is bet not placed. Darn it, I've got to place a bet. My sharp side winner is the over on the Toronto Braves game. I think it's going to go over. Man, you apparently can't bet online while you're on Zoom. This is annoying.
You can legally wager. You're in Colorado. I don't know why that's not working out for you. But Cardi, I believe you had an under as far as your sharp side pick.
Yeah, the Brewers White Sox game. The line is 9, and the bet has it as, I think, 7 3/4 or something like that. So it's pretty significant. It's two pitchers that I think are underrated. Kaiko is underrated. Hauser is underrated. The Brewers bullpen is elite. The White Sox offense is a little overrated. Really good pitchers umpire in this game, I believe. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at here. This park is considered a really good hitter's park, but it's more like neutral overall, except it's really good for power. But against a guy like Kaiko, who gives up so many, generates so many ground balls, the potential for that power is less. I think the under in this game is the smart bet.
Pulling up the weather edge here. The only thing that really kind of jumps.
Just terrible today. Like no Yelich, like just so many really bad players in the lineup. Plenty of holes in the White Sox lineup too. Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't see no Yelich. That's gonna have me. Oh God.
It's Ryan Healy leading off. It's Jed Jerko hitting cleanup. It's Ben Gamel hitting 5th. It's Mark Mathias, whoever that is, hitting 7th. Like it's not a good lineup.
Yeah, is that going to push me on to Dallas Keuchel more without Christian Yelich? Cardi, talk me out of Dallas Keuchel, please.
Why is it so bad?
He's terrible. I mean, the lineup, or why is Dallas Keuchel just not fun? The roster.
Why is this lineup so bad?
Well, because they lost Randall, they lost Moustakas, they lost Kane.
Yelich is sitting, so
there's somebody else too. I believe I'm missing.
And they refuse to play Braun, or maybe he's hurt. I guess.
Well, he's hurt. He's in the 10-day. I think. Yeah, he's another guy that's out.
Smoke is not
good
there for some reason. Like they just aren't playing anyone that is good.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? All right. Talk to me about Dallas Keuchel.
I think, at least in cash games, I think Keuchel is one of the strongest plays.
All right. Sell me on Dallas Keuchel, outside of the fact that Milwaukee's terrible.
I feel like I just did. The Milwaukee lineup is terrible. The work is, basically only good for home runs. Yeah, maybe he gives up a couple home runs. Maybe Avisail Garcia or Keston Hiura gets to him. But it's not like there's a lot of power in this lineup to worry about. And Keuchel's a ground ball guy to begin with. So there's only going to be a couple balls that really have a chance of becoming a home run anyway. So Keuchel is 7.4K, I think. He's cheap. He just seems like on a slate where pitching is terrible, like one of the least terrible pitching options.
Yeah, I mean, elite ground ball skills, just short of 60% last year, which is really awesome. But inversely, the 17.7% K rate is just putrid. You're just begging to get 4 or 5 Ks out of him. Oh, man. By the way, Avisail Garcia, revenge game. The people in the chat want to hear that for sure. Grant, is Keuchel weird enough for you? Is there enough upside for you as far as Dallas Keuchel?
I don't see a huge amount of upside. Why don't you like Hauser on the other side?
He's fine.
Leash isn't super long, and his leash isn't super long, and the White Sox lineup is a little better than the Brewers lineup. But I mean, he doesn't go super deep into games. That's one of the main things for him.
80 pitches that we're gonna get.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Yeah, the bat has him at 76, so
Okay.
probably get 80, maybe somewhere around there.
Yeah,
All
I don't
right.
know. I think I'd rather go with that. I think there's a few guys I'd rather go with cash. I'm not playing cash today. It's just that simple. Why would I play cash today? It's not a great slate. I mean, yes, I can use Darvish and I can use Kaiko as my second SP. But like I don't see a huge amount of upside. That lineup is looking pretty tempting, considering like Kaiko mostly strikes out lefties, not as much righties, and he's going up against 7 righties. And Sogar doesn't really.
That's the biggest issue for him is those righties because he does have a wide split.
Yeah, it has a wide split, but I mean, look at the K rate on Healy, Hira, Garcia, Jerko, Pena. Like all these guys have fairly high K rates. So yeah. I'm starting to think about it a little bit more. But I mean, honestly, I think I'm on Hauser on the other side. Like he's 700 more. He has a similar implied run total. He's going up against the lineup with a lot of strikeouts in February. Like, yeah, the lineup has a 25% K rate in it. Hauser strikes out both lefties and righties, and it's a little bit worse versus lefties. Lefties he has to face is Moncada, which isn't easy, Mazzara, and Garcia and Grandal. Like he has 2 tough ones and 2 fairly easy ones here. So I'm more on Hauser, but I think there's other guys you can go with. Like no one's in a safe matchup. Like Keuchel does have one of the safest matchups on the board, but his run total against is really not that low, 4.35. I mean, you look at guys on other spots, and the run totals are kind of similar. Like even Manea sitting there at 8.6K. I know he's probably going to get pulled after like 8.
Yeah, he can't go deep is the problem with him.
Like 60 pitches. And, I mean, Richards has a lower implied run total against the Dodgers. So it's a weird slate. I don't really want to – I'm trusting Vegas a little bit more. And so I'm just avoiding cash. But for tournaments, I think it's going to be fun.
Cardi, what is the bat had for Manea as far as his pitches thrown today? 84, 80?
86 is what it looks like. I can pull it up on here. You guys see the screen, I think, right? We have Yep, Sean Manea. Baseline pitch count 86. Pitch count today, or baseline 88. Pitch to count today 86.
So I just ran 200 lineups using the bat and kind of messing around with some stuff too. And one of the pitchers as an SP2, it's popping here for me, Cardi, is Lance McCullers. And I love Lance McCullers. We talked about the other day. I love his stuff, but he's another guy that's just history of injuries. Makes me just he's not looked great so far. He's walking too many guys. He tends to have those innings where he just labors, can't get past 5 sometimes. Talk me into or talk me out of, or are you kind of in the middle? I'm sort of split on McCullers. I don't know what to do. Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle. He's a little pricey. The matchup isn't quite good enough for me to really want to play him today. I'd rather save, the 1,000 on Keuchel or go up the 900 to Clevenger or something like that. I love McCullers. I'm McCullers' biggest fan. But guys coming off Tommy John surgery, they do take some time to get right. I think next year McCullers is going to dominate. And I think this year you kind of need to play the prices in matchups. And I don't think this is a great one. It's not a super strikeout heavy lineup. It's not a super bad lineup. I just think he's okay today. I just think he's a little overpriced. If you want to play him in GPPs, though, at what looks like 11% ownership, you can certainly mix him into your pool a little bit. That lineup, by the way, not a lot of Ks, only 2 guys. Well, 3 guys that strike out over 22%. You got Bode at 22%, Walker at 28%, and Calhoun at 26%. Otherwise, I mean, collectively they're striking out against righties, 19.9%. I don't love that number necessarily. Yeah, the fourth lowest strikeout rate for the lineup on the slate. 20.8%, which is well below average.
Wait, Cardi, you want to do a shot bet
on McCullers?
McCullers will get negative points today.
What? Grant is thirsty.
Yeah, I'll take that bet because I don't think he's getting negative points, but I don't love him today.
I mean, what would be the odds on that? What? Probably -8 or +800?
We could look it up in the back.
I think I would lay 8-1 on that. I would lay 8-1 on negative points. Negative points?
Yeah.
It's possible, sure, but he'd have to really get shellacked.
I'm really, really liking the Diamondbacks today. Like,
all right.
They're not going to draw any ownership. Like, they're all projected to run 1% ownership. Outside of Marte, no one's outside of Marte and Marte.
Both
No
Martes.
one's really that expensive. Like Marte and Marte have some pop. Calhoun has some pop. Walker has some pop. Escobar has some pop. Peralta has some pop, and Vogt has some pop.
So McCullers is McCullers' a 0-point projection is about his 15th percentile outcome. So about 85% of the time, he will be in the positives.
So that's what, roughly 8-1? Oh, did I call it?
You kind of called it.
I think he gets at least like 0.1 fantasy.
So does that mean if I lose, I have to take 8 shots?
I mean, you can if you want.
Periodically. Each position, second base shot, third base shot. Good times for sure. It'll make for a great show. Britt's in chat. Britt's talking about Sean Manaea. There we go, Sean Manaea. Yeah, all right. We just don't really know how many how deep he's going to go. Is the umpire data up? I assume we have umpire data a fair bit for some of these teams because,
for some of them. Colors has an extreme pitchers umpire, which will definitely help him.
All right.
Wait, McCullers or Manaea?
What's that?
Do you say McCullers or Manaea?
McCullers.
Well, that's not great for me, but I'm already in.
I was reading Cheese's musings today, and
Manaea does too, though, by the way.
Say it again.
Manaea also has an extreme pitchers umpire. He's got Bill Miller.
There you go. Oh, that's like the Mike Trout of umpires, right? For pitchers.
It is, yeah.
Mike Trout. I'm not sure if it's post baby Mike Trout after it, but it's Mike Trout nonetheless. Okay, so the Robbie Ray rule, I think Cheese the one that created it, is if nobody's going to play him, you're supposed to play him. If he's going to be chalk, you're supposed to fade him because he's highly volatile. He's got strikeout ability. He also yields homers to righties. He's facing the Astros. He walks dudes. Nobody's going to play him. Grant, you said you felt like getting frisky today. I'm not sure if you said frisky or wild or whatever it was. Robbie Ray he's the definition of weird, Robbie Ray. And if you like Arizona, maybe he gets that W as well too. But I don't really want to pick on Houston, but I get it. I understand why you would do it because the upside is there and you catch him on the right night. He's got Bill Miller behind the plate too. That can't hurt. Same umpire as McCullers has. What do you think, Grant? If you're going to be frisky, if you're going to be weird, why not play some Ray?
I mean, the problem is it could end up with drastically negative points. He's going up against Houston. Houston has a lot of batters that are fairly patient. Ray has a 20% walk rate on the season. Miller definitely does help a lot, and that actually gives me a little bit more confidence in playing Ray. He's a little bit underpriced, especially considering his upside. He can go for a massive game here. I am going to be playing Ray. I'm probably going to be playing a decent amount of Ray would be my guess, but he has some pretty extreme splits and he's going up against 7 or 8 righties. So this is just a tough spot here. And
what would Ricky Bobby do though is the question. Who cares? Of course it's a bad matchup, but nobody's going to play him. There is some upside if you get the right things happen for him.
I might play Robbie Ray in cash games.
Whoa!
Oh gosh.
Cardi just raised. Okay, Cardi. I'll pivot to you as far as Ray. Talk to me about Robbie Ray.
Well, first, because like you said, no one's going to play him. So he's a fantastic GPP play because he's actually one of the best point per dollar plays on this slate. There's only one guy that projects better point per dollar in the bet because he's 6.5K. He's 6.5K and he's a good pitcher. Yeah, the matchup is absolutely horrible. You don't want to be facing the Houston Astros. They have a bunch of good bats. They don't strike out. But the thing about Robbie Ray is he's a good pitcher, and despite struggling so far this year, one of which was against the Dodgers, what do you expect? He made some legitimate changes. We talked about it, I think, last week on the show. He changed up his delivery that should theoretically, eventually, once he gets used to it, hopefully today maybe, lead to better control for him. Also, his velocity is up. His spin rate is up. His stuff is better. And so, once he puts it together, which I kind of think he will at some point, he's going to be a better pitcher than he was before. And even though he was a volatile pitcher before, he was still a good pitcher. And so 6.5K for him is just too cheap, especially on a slate where we've talked about every pitcher and we found reasons not to play every single one. There's reasons not to play Robbie Ray, but on a slate like this, how does that make him different than anyone else? And he's 6.5K.
I'm reading the chat, and this is great. Astros will spank Ray. Ray makes me nervous, especially against Houston. Robbie Ray throws 40 pitches an inning. And they're all right. You should feel nervous.
Right. There's nobody denying any of this. But nobody's denying this at all. But he has the extreme pitchers umpire, which will help if he struggles with his control. And again, like, tell me who is a stone lock great play today. There's not one on the slate. And so on
Garrett Richards.
Okay. Talk about Garrett Richards.
I love Garrett Richards, Grant. Like, I'm a huge Garrett Richards fan, but I don't think against the Dodgers you can call him a stone lock play.
I mean, in comparison to a lot of guys, like, all right, so Richards had 2 starts this season, one in Colorado, I believe. So, like, he hasn't had the easiest matchups. He's going up against a very tough matchup today, but he's 6.4 K. He currently has a 27% K rate on the season. And, like, this is not an easy matchup. Like, this is absolutely not an easy matchup. It's not somewhere you go, but Vegas seems to have a huge amount of confidence in him. Currently, they have a 4.16 implied run total for the Dodgers here. It's being played in San Diego. It's only 71 degrees out there. Like, it's not a great ballpark for home runs. It's at this weather point. And, like, that's one of Richards' biggest problems is giving up a lot of hard contact. So I honestly, like, I'm going to have a ton of Richards today. Like,
no bets, by the way, in that lineup for what it's worth. So that's a slight bump for Richards. If you're going to fire him out there.
That does have him as the next best point per dollar guy after Ray. It does like him even in the tough spot also because this slate is terrible.
Pollock, Muncy, Turner, Bellinger, Seager, Taylor, Peterson, Will Smith, Kike, Enrique Hernandez is the lineup for the Dodgers.
Look at you, Dean. You can read.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, we have every single lineup except for one. Do you guys want to take a guess which manager is not posted this lineup? No.
Oh, Angels.
Yeah. Joe Madden does not like he does not care for us. He likes to make his lineups very, very late for whatever reason. By the way, I did pull up the lineup HQ here at RG, and there's several pitchers that have extreme pitchers umpires. There's an extreme pitcher umpire in Coors, so Logan Webb has one, as well as Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, McCullers, Mania, Kyle Gibson, and John Gray. Cardi, we do have to move on and talk about some sticks. Oh, you guys talk about Stripling, right? That's your boy. You have any thoughts as far as Ross?
I mean, he's fine. I think if the ownership rate on him is correct, he's going to be, the second highest owned pitcher on the slate. I think that's way too high. I wouldn't really have interest in him in GPPs at that ownership. And in cash games, I don't know. I'd rather save the 400 on Kaiko. He's a Dodger. He's not going to go super deep into games. The Padres' offense is pretty good now. I just think he's okay, which is the same as basically any other pitcher on this slate. And so why are you going to pay more for it?
I just did a refresh on our ownership. Of course, Jamino and his team are all over that. And they, it's fluid right now. The closer we get to lock, the more and more it becomes precise, the more accurate it is. But it's interesting to see Robbie Ray as the 5th highest projected ownership pitcher on DK. And that's because of the price as well, too. That's kind of putting you there. But that's it's not as goofy as I thought it would be, turns out. Give me a summary, Grant, as far as some arms besides Lance McCullers.
We didn't talk about the best cheap guy, though.
Oh, you want to talk about the 4K guy?
Yeah, we got to talk about TJ Antone.
Okay, talk about him.
He's 4K. The matchup is tough against Cleveland in Progressive. And if you look at his numbers, they've never been very good in the minors. But he's on the Reds. The Reds hired Kyle Boddy from Driveline Pitch, whatever, recently. And he worked with Driveline apparently over the summer, over the past year or so, and added 6 miles an hour to his fastball, 400 RPM to his or whatever you want to call it, to his spin rate. Apparently his stuff is way better, which makes him really interesting at 4K in this spot. The spot itself isn't good, but on a terrible slate, you can definitely take a shot on a 4K guy. I think he's a borderline cash option, and certainly a guy in GPPs to help you access some more expensive stuff.
Yeah, I saw his stuff wasn't great in the, as far as a K perspective in the minors, but you think that's going to be skewed because of how he changed things up. So don't take that as for what it looks like on the surface.
Yeah, exactly. So adding 6 miles an hour to a fastball is a huge deal. People don't do that, but basically on average, by doing that, you go from a 23% strikeout rate, which is league average, up to a 28.5% strikeout rate, which is quite good just from the velo alone. So it's a big deal, I think, what he's done. We saw it. He's made one appearance already, and he was throwing hard. He was looking good. So I think he's very intriguing.
Yeah, he threw 69 pitches, which technically some may say is nice, but that's not perfectly nice. That's perfectly fine to at 4K. And, theoretically, if you bump it up 15 pitches to his next start, you can throw 85 if he's throwing well, and he was throwing great. They pulled him mid-inning, despite the fact that he gave only one hit and one walk the entire game, a homer at some point. Grant, your thoughts as far as Antone and your thoughts as far as pitchers as a whole?
Antone's weird. I'm going there. But honestly, for pitching, I'm predominantly going to use Antone, Hauser, Richards, Ray, and Darvish. Like that I might make that my entire player pool. I haven't built many lineups yet, so I don't know if I'm going to have too much extra money or too little money, whatever it is, and have to throw someone else in there. But honestly, I think that's all you really need to do. Like Clevenger's coming in at way too much ownership. Stripling's coming in at too much ownership, it looks like. Manea's not going to go long enough. Every other option has a lot of knocks against it. So I'm just going for the guys at much lower ownership, like in the low teens or single digits. And I think that's the smart way to go because it really is a coin flip, any one of these guys being the highest scoring or best pitcher on the slate. So just go for the lower owned guys.
Cardi, cash game perspective, and then pivot to tournaments.
I mean, it's awful. I think you can make a case for a bunch of guys in cash games because nobody on this slate is good. You can throw Clevenger, Kaiko, Ray, McCullers, Antone, maybe Marco Gonzalez. All are viable cash plays tonight, I think. Maybe even Garrett Richards. I mean, it's my least favorite pitching slate of the whole year.
Well, let's go to something we all love is catchers. Yeah. Okay. Let's do catchers pretty quickly because you're already kind of falling behind a little bit. But Grant, your favorite catchers tonight? I assume your catchers are just like the guys that are in your stack, or do you have somebody as a one-off you like?
I mean, predominantly the guys that are in my stack. I'd say Contreras is or Henneman is probably the top two options in terms of raw points. But I'm just going off of my stack or paying down for Danny Jansen is probably my favorite point per dollar catcher on the entire slate.
It's interesting. We hate this slate is for pitching so much, and we didn't even talk about Hyun-Jin Ryu, who's he's been excellent for years, and he's kind of sputtering and he's kind of expensive. He's in a bad ballpark today, so I guess he's off the board for both you guys and for me as well. Cardi, give me some catchers.
Yeah, Danny Jansen is probably the best point per dollar guy on the slate. You can go down to him for sure. He's a decent hitter, got the platoon advantage. He's in Atlanta. It's hot. Jansen's a great play. If you have the extra 500, Salvador Perez, I think is interesting. Not because the matchup is great by any means, is against Darvish, but he's too cheap for who he is talent-wise. And then you're playing, whatever catchers in your stacks and GPPs. I think those are kind of your cash options, though. Ideally, Jansen.
Cardi, open up first base.
It's Brandon Belt in cash games, and that's it. If you're not playing Brandon Belt, you don't know what you're doing. He's in Coors Field. He's the best hitter on the Giants. He's 4.4K. He's hitting cleanup. He's the best first baseman on the slate by like 1.5 points. You have to play Brandon Belt.
I might not do that for the record. My lineups are not set. I'm probably not going to play. I don't like Belt, and I think Gray's pretty good.
Nobody likes Belt, but you're really not going to play Belt for 4.4K in Coors Field? Come on.
I think I'm okay saving salary and playing like Gurriel. If I need a few $100, I'm okay with that.
You're literally saving $300 on a slate where pitching sucks.
Oh, Gurriel's not good though. Gurriel's such a bad hitter. Everything he did last year was smoke and mirrors. All of his StatCast numbers were horrendous. I don't know. I'm not a Gurriel fan.
I'm not a Belt fan.
But he's in Coors Field. Gurriel is in Chase.
It's still you got to hit a baseball. And Gray's pretty good at throwing baseballs.
That is true. But so is Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray's pretty good at throwing baseball.
But he yields a lot of homers.
He's pretty great at throwing them. He's not very good at locating them.
But I like a good tournament play is Matt Olsen, I think, for first base.
You're trying to sweet talk me.
Go ahead. Oh, yeah, I want to win you over, Grant. I see you're on the fence. You're teetering. But talk to me about Matt Olsen and other tournament guys you like.
Dude hits bombs, has a platoon split, even though Gibson's fairly split neutral. But I'm just always going to be excited about him. It's Belt is the top option, followed probably by Murphy, Vlad, O'Hearns if you need to save some money, or Gonzalez if you need to save some money. But yeah, Santana is also a decent play. I was assuming that Antone would be higher owned, but it doesn't look like he's going to be that highly owned. So Santana is not in a bad spot against a guy that's not the greatest pitcher in the world. So that's pretty much first base.
The more I look at it, and again, I haven't built my lineups yet. I mean, I might play Belch begrudgingly just because first base is so terrible today. It's strange. We don't love the pitchers, and a lot of the hitters just sort of met as well, too. It's one of those weird slates
The slate kind of sucks.
I don't love anything. Like, there's nothing to really love. I don't, whatever. We'll see if he goes. The Astros, I like Houston, but, like, people are going to do that against Ray, and playing both sides, that is kind of an interesting move. But, all right, second base, Grant, does that get any better for us?
I mean, Altuve is 5.7K, but pitching sucks today, so you can fit in McMahon, like all the core second basemen. Of course, Arias is, I think, 3.3K.
He's cheap.
Yeah, he's cheap. Like, if you need to throw something in there, but if you're not paying up. And also, a Mendick is super cheap.
What's his name, Grant?
Mendick. It's you say it phonetically, Mendick.
You've been waiting to say it all show.
Yeah. Cardi, who do you have as the keystone position for me? Cash game guy and some tournament pivots.
Cash games, there's no clear guy. I think you can pay up for Solano in cores if you want. I think you can go down to Adam Frazier at 3.8K, leading off, platoon advantage, just a decent hitter. Arias, though, if you need to save some money, he's the guy that I think makes the most sense at 3.3K. Not a lot of power, not going to do a whole lot for you, but at the price, I think he's going to be good. I think Twins are going to be chalky. In GPPs, I think KC stacks are pretty sneaky against Darvish, solid stolen base matchup. So Whit Merrifield, even though he's expensive, I think there are cheaper guys that you can plug in with him from the Royals to make it a really good point per dollar mix. That's kind of second base.
Yeah, so it's a different point with Belt. Like, but Donovan Solano at 4.9K is just like, he's not a good hitter, and Wilmer Flores, we always like him against lefties, against righties, whatever. Like McMahon at 5.3K. But did you just want to say Mendick, or you actually like him at 2.3K today, Grant? Because
he's cheap if you really need to fit something in. I also forgot to mention Marte. Like, obviously, I really like the Diamondback stack. He's going to come in super low ownership, but dude's got a lot of pop. McCullers has struggled this year, and McCullers going to get destroyed today.
If you want a cheat code for the home run game, we play that later. Just say Marte. You get an extra guy. It's a great move.
I can go Marte, and there's not a third Marte. Is there any
loophole?
I need to figure out if there's any player that there's three guys with the same last name.
Oh, the holidays, but that's basketball. That's a whole different sport.
Yeah. That's
I think I made a holiday lineup yesterday.
Anytime Morris brothers are playing each other, you have to make a twin lineup.
You really shouldn't, though, because they're both terrible. But yeah, I hear you.
Doesn't matter. Still do it.
Just because me and my brother, we're playing. Don't roster us. Just throwing it out there. What do you have for me, Cardi, as far as the hot corner, third base?
Yeah, so if you can get up to Arenado, obviously that's what you want to do. He's in Coors Field. The Rockies are great. He's Arenado. He's awesome. Jose Ramirez, I think, is an interesting pivot. I kind of talked up Antone, how much I like him. But the thing about him is he's a sinker slider guy. And so those guys tend to have very wide platoon splits, and so lefties can get to them. And Jose Ramirez is a switch hitter, and he's very talented. So hitting from the left side here, I think he's a pretty solid pick at home in a great park. I don't love him in cash games because I really do like the upside of Antone. So I would rather try to get up to Arenado if I can.
Yeah, it's looking like either Ramirez or Arenado for me. I'm going to do my best to get one of those two in. Don't mind Bryant for tournaments. Don't mind Bregman for tournaments. Even Rendon. Like, Rendon's going to be completely ignored. I don't say completely, but mostly ignored. What do you have for me, Grant, as far as third base?
It's Arenado and Ramirez are by far my two favorite options, followed by Guerrero and Bregman for not really incorporating in ownership. But Escobar is sitting there at way too cheap at 3.7K. Again, love the Diamondbacks. Going to keep saying that because that's the only team that I'm really happy about stacking today. I may just make like one lineup across every side and just stack the Diamondbacks just because I hate everything else about this slate. But got a pretty decent ISO versus righties. Like, McCullers is just struggling something terrible. And so Escobar, I think, is very much in play. And then Machado, I don't think is the worst idea in the world going up against Stripling. He's a little bit too cheap there at 4.5K.
Tell me how you would go about stacking Arizona. Just like theoretically build a stack. And then you're
literally anyone 1 through 7. Like, Vogt has some pop to him. Peralta has some pop. Like, all these guys are too cheap. The only expensive guys are Marte and Marte. but like this is just anyone 1 through 7. I'm not throwing John Jay. I'm not throwing Ahmed in there. Like there's no point in throwing those 2 in there. They should just be left out of your stack. Although this could be the day where John Jay, he seems to screw me over once every single year. I don't know why. Like he'll just have that.
I didn't know he was from the league. I'll be honest.
Huh?
Probably because you decided to play him.
No, it's Franchi Cordero got scratched. McBroom's in.
Oh, okay.
Not that it changes a whole lot.
All right, that's just worth noting. I appreciate that. I'm just trying to see how that helps out from a K percentage for Darvish. I think it's basically the same. All right, John Jay. I thought he retired. He's still playing baseball. Good for him. Keep cashing those checks. 35 years old. I thought he was older for some reason. Let's jump to shortstop, Cardi. What do you have for me?
It's Trevor Story in cash games. Obviously, he's if you want to get up to him. Polanco will get some ownership because the Twins are going to be chalky. But I think if you want to get weird, Adalberto Mondesi, Nicky Lopez, I think KC stacks are kind of nice. Kevin Newman, I think Pittsburgh stacks are nice off the radar. We didn't mention Colin Moran at third base, but his StatCast numbers have been off the charts so far this year. I think Pittsburgh is a solid under the radar stack tonight, and those are kind of the guys that I'd be looking at from those teams.
You were talking about Darvish. I pulled this up on the fly. You're talking about him being susceptible to the stolen base. In 178 innings last year, he gave up 24. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, he gives up a lot of stolen bases. He's like one of the worst guys in baseball at preventing them. And so I think, even if you don't think the Royals are going to score a lot of runs, they can still put up points, and their salaries are low enough where I think they make sense in GPPs. And if they do put up runs, great, then you have leverage against Darvish, who's going to be owned. I
was going to say, you can even play, in theory, Darvish and Mondesi in the same lineup because Mondesi can swipe a couple bags without ever even scoring.
Yeah, you could. More of a cash construction, but yeah, you could, that could easily happen.
Can you pull this up on the fly? What's Caratini as far as defensively, as far as throwing people out? That's his backstop tonight. As you pull it up, what do you have for Grant as far as shortstops?
Story and Polanco are the 2 top options, just depending on how much money you have. What?
Darvish is the most susceptible pitcher to stolen bases. Caratini is his most susceptible catcher to stolen bases. Like, they could really go wild tonight.
They might call this the perfect storm. I think this is the perfect storm, is it not?
I don't know if I've ever seen this before. So, yeah, maybe with the Mets guys sometimes when it was like Darvish.
I mean, you haven't seen Top Gun. Have you ever seen the movie The Perfect Storm?
Spoiler alert, there's definitely not going to be a sequel. The stats limitations are up. It's been like 20 years. If you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it. Also, Bruce Willis is dead the whole time. But go ahead. What else do we have as far as shortstops here, Grant?
Lindor. Again, he's going up against a guy with a decent platoon split. Bichette is not a bad play. Like I like the Blue Jays tonight. Mendick, just 2.3K. Very, very cheap Mendick. But, he pretty much mentioned everything.
Mendick, right?
Huh?
How much do you normally pay for Mendick?
I mean, it all depends on where I'm at, what part of the country. Mendick is expensive in Colorado.
Seamless segue. Yeah, I'm pulling up on the fly here as far as the play IQ. They're talking about McBroom striking out a ton against look at it. I'm talking about the chat, by the way. Like and subscribe, chat. Much appreciated. Fire away some questions. We'll actually have some time to answer some questions, despite all the nonsense and the shenanigans we're going through. But McBroom, 32% strikeout rate in a 65 plate appearances. That would be last year and this year combined. So I would say it's an upgrade from a K perspective there for you, Darvish. Are we done as far as shortstop? Or jumping to the outfield, Cardi, where DK is going to tell us or try to force a bunch of Twins on us, I think, because they're a little bit underpriced.
Yeah, in cash games, it's kind of Coors and Twins. You have Yastrzemski, who's great. Dahl, obviously, is going to be a strong play. And then for the Twins, you have all 3 of them. You have Kepler, you have Rosario, you have Cave. They're all way too cheap. They're all great plays. Off the radar stuff, I mean, Mike Trout is facing the lefty, so you can play him in a GPP for sure. Teoscar Hernandez is just so good and still so underrated. If the Twins weren't so cheap, I'd be really excited about playing Teoscar in cash today. But as a GPP pivot, I think he's awesome. AJ Pollock is just perpetually too cheap. Like, I know we like Garrett Richards, but 3.2K for the Dodgers leadoff hitter, who's actually a good hitter against anybody. I like that quite a bit. Yeah.
Teoscar Hernandez on FanDuel is 2.8K. A lot of those guys on Toronto are really cheap. 2.8 for Teoscar. Gurriel is 2.5. Guerrero Jr. is 2.8.
Yeah,
Bichette's 2.8. Toronto's super, super cheap on FanDuel if you want to stack them up and have a good time. You know, if you want to do a 4-4 Toronto with somebody else, I'm sure, you know, that's not a secret. Grant, your thoughts on those guys, and feel free to add some other dudes to the conversation.
Let's see. Those guys, Calhoun, Peralta, and Marte. But yeah, like Kepler and Rosario and Cave are the 3 top point per dollar plays on the entire slate at the outfield position. I like that call on Trout. He's one of my favorite guys to play on this slate just because you don't really need to pay him for pitching. The Coors guys, so Dahl, Blackman, Yastrzemski, are all very much in play. Acuna's not a bad spot. I like the over on that game. So I like both the Blue Jays side and the Braves side. So you can go with Gurriel, you can go with Hernandez, you can go with any of the guys from that entire game. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like outfield, you're getting it from like 5 different teams total, and that's it.
Some questions here from chat. Well, let's do some stacks. Who's your favorite stacks, Cardi?
I like the Royals. This is the bat stack page. The Royals are the best point per dollar stack, and I think they're going to be underowned because the stolen base thing people aren't going to consider. They're just going to see Darvish, and they're going to be like, no, can't do the Royals. But Royal stacks make a lot of sense. Twins are great values, but they're going to be chalky. I think Pirates are really strong, also under the radar stack tonight.
Grant, besides Arizona, who else do you like to stack tonight?
Braves, Toronto, and like I'm really not I'm probably staying away from Coors for the majority of it. I don't really want to go with Oakland because they're in Oakland. Like, if you want an off the board stack, like,
sure.
I think I'm gonna have a few Diamondbacks Seattle stacks.
Oof, Seattle.
I think
Tehran's terrible.
Yeah, Seattle's not bad.
Seattle's when you consider ownership and price, the 2 best stacks on the slate are Seattle and the Diamondbacks. They're going to come in at no ownership. There's some pop. Tehran could be terrible. Like, they have a 4.23 total, and the average price of the guy that you throw into your stack is going to be, 3.6K? Like, Crawford's got some pop. Lewis has got some pop. Seager's got some pop. Noel's got some pop. Vogelbach. Like, you can make, even Shed Long, like, you can make a dangerous potential lineup here.
Say Vogelbach by his full title. Come on.
The captain of Team Girth.
CEO, but okay, fair enough.
Okay, yeah. It's a team. It's not a company. This is why you didn't succeed in business, Dean. That's why you were a teacher and then this.
Do we want to just go over my resume for the next few minutes, or knock out some questions?
Hanging out behind the Costco, apparently.
I had Costco jokes earlier that I just edited in my head like 4 different times.
Oh, that's what I want tonight. I want Costco pizza for dinner.
What?
Costco pizza is the best pizza.
It's really not the best pizza. Like, for value, it's the what's the dude's name? Gosh, I can't think of his name now. Well, it doesn't matter. It's the TJ Antone of pitchers. How about that?
It's the Nicolas Cage of pizza. Like, everyone loves him, and he's just always there and cheap.
It can be sneaky good, and most of the time it's just really obviously bad.
Okay, there's never been a bad Nicolas Cage movie.
There's 100 of them. Go to IMDb. Okay, I got a 2v2 for you, Cardi. Blackman and Polanco versus Story and Rosario.
Story and Rosario is the better combo, but in GPPs you could go with the other one. Like, I think Polanco as part of the Pittsburgh stack is kind of nice and sneaky.
The chat, by the way, is talking about Bill Miller being in Texas and Oakland and not in the Houston-Arizona game. I'm not sure if we had that wrong. But,
no, I think you just misspoke before. We were talking about pitchers, umpires. You got it mixed up for a second. Bill Miller.
Well, it's because I said McCullers and I thought you said Manea.
Yeah. No, it was just like a slip. Bill Miller is in the Texas game. Nick Marley, who is another extreme pitchers umpire, is in the McCullers game.
Cardi, cash pitcher on FanDuel.
Probably Kaiko.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Begrudgingly. All right, Grant, give me how would you build a Houston stack tonight? Is it just super obvious?
I mean, you go with the main guys, but you can really go anything. Like, he's going to get wild. Yeah, he's going to be a little bit wild We know this. It's Robbie Ray. So do anything, but you're obviously going for the main guys: Altuve, Bregman, Correa, Springer.
The thing is, walks aren't good. Like 2 points, like whatever. Like you're not happy about a walk. It's like it's fine, I guess. It's better than 0. But
well, it's more about being able to get more RBIs. Like so, you go for guys with power, which is why like the guys that are most patient that get walks are Springer, Altuve, Correa, Bregman. Like those are the guys that walk the most.
I believe we have Cheeses Good and cards waiting in the wings for RG Premium members. Again, feel free to like and subscribe. Much appreciate you guys watching this show. Also, Roth will be on. Roth will be doing some weather. Let you guys know what's going down weather-wise, if anything is lurking. That said, give me one dude, Cardi. Be succinct. Be precise. Who's going to break the slate tonight?
Go on.
Grant?
Robbie Ray, I guess.
Garrett Richards.
That's it. There you go. He's Grant. He's Cardi. I'm Dean. That was baseball. We're out of here. Holler.